Chapter 1. Antarctica's Forbidden Sectors. What are they hiding? At the southernmost edge of our world lies a continent locked in ice and silence. Antarctica. For centuries, it has been the last blank space on our maps, a place untouched by civilization, a place reserved for science and peace, a place with no ownership, no government, and, supposedly, no secrets. But that last part may be the greatest lie of all. Because scattered across Antarctica are zones you cannot enter, places where flights are not allowed, where expeditions vanish, where images blur and data disappears. This is not about ice storms or survival risks. It's not about blizzards or broken equipment. It's about access, or rather the sudden, deliberate denial of it. These are Antarctica's forbidden sectors, and they may hold the key to a mystery older than recorded history. Let's begin with a place called Sector D59. It's not a name you'll find in brochures or textbooks, but for those who work with Antarctic logistics, it's quietly known. It appears in certain treaty documents, in internal mapping grids used by scientific agencies, and in oblique references buried in shipping manifests. Sector D59 sits deep inside Queen Maud Land, near the inland base of the Walthert Mountains. It's officially listed as a restricted scientific zone, one that does not permit flyovers, satellite scans, or public access. That in itself is strange. Antarctica has no official borders, no sovereign military presence. According to the Antarctic Treaty system, the entire continent is open to peaceful research and transparent inspection. So why is D59 sealed off? And perhaps more urgently, what's inside it? In 2008, an anonymous satellite analyst, posting under the name Cold Surveyor, claimed to have captured multiband image composites showing unusual geometric formations beneath the ice in that very sector. Long, parallel ridges, grid-like shapes, unnatural alignments. He uploaded the files to a geospatial imaging forum. They disappeared within hours. So did his account. Forum moderators received a takedown notice, not from Google, not from a private company, but from an agency called the Defense Mapping Agency. There's just one problem. The DMA officially shut down in 1996, and yet two other users attempting to repost the images received identical takedown requests. By week's end, the server logs were scrubbed, no explanation was ever offered, and Cold Surveyor never heard from again. D59 is just one example. Across Antarctica, there are dozens of regions marked by similar patterns: limited access, no public research data, and sudden changes in classification. A closer look reveals that many of these lie within Antarctic Specially Managed Areas, or ASMAs. Created in the early 2000s, ASMAs were introduced under the Madrid Protocol as a way to regulate human impact on fragile ecosystems. But within the fine print, certain ASMAs carry language that is anything but scientific. Take ASMA 7, also in Queen Maud Land. According to its official management plan, observers entering this zone must report to designated authority nodes prior to data collection. All findings are subject to review prior to public dissemination. That's not scientific caution. That's pre-censorship. One researcher who encountered these restrictions firsthand was Dr. Wilfried Niederberger, a Swiss glaciologist working on a multinational climate survey in 1987. In a now-suppressed interview from 2004, he recounted an incident involving a cancelled route through a section of ASMA 7. "We planned a cross-glacier survey with seismic gear, but 2 days before departure, we were told to avoid a coordinate block inside the Queen Maud corridor. No reason, no discussion, just forbidden. There are parts of Antarctica you don't go, and we don't ask why." The interviewer later reported that the recording was seized by a third-party entity claiming to represent international treaty enforcement. The interview never aired. Restrictions in Antarctica are often disguised in environmental language, but in reality, the boundaries they draw don't just protect ecosystems, they hide something. Lake Vostok is a well-known example. Buried under more than 2 miles of ice, this subglacial lake remained untouched for millions of years. In the 1990s, Russian scientists began drilling to reach its waters. By 2012, they breached the ice cap. Then, silence. No detailed findings, no images, no biological reports, just a vague announcement. We have reached the lake. According to leaked internal memos from the Russian Ministry of Natural Resources, initial sample returned isotope signatures inconsistent with terrestrial origin, further disclosures limited to executive clearance. The lake had yielded something strange, possibly something alive, but the public never saw it. Several years later, American researchers at McMurdo Station reported that a small team of Russian technicians had been relocated to the Wilkes Land anomaly, the same region where satellite data suggests a gravitational disturbance lies beneath the ice. The sample from Lake Vostok was never discussed again. Let's return to another mystery. Ridge 14. In 2013, a group of elite hikers from Austria planned an ambitious Antarctic crossing. They had permits, funding, and satellite tracking. Their route would take them through Ridge 14, a region with little published data. Their final GPS ping came from near the Humboldt Mountains. After that, nothing. A single emergency locator beacon activated for 10 seconds. No further contact. Rescue operations were blocked by poor weather, but when conditions cleared, no trace of the team was ever found. And 1 week later, Ridge 14 was reclassified as a protected area under survey, halting all access. No explanation was offered. When Chilean military aircraft flew recon passes over the region, they reported magnetic interference and GPS disruption. One pilot described his instruments spinning without reason. Another said the horizon itself seemed to ripple. At this point, patterns begin to emerge. They all involve sudden restriction of zones following anomalous events, loss or suppression of data related to specific coordinates, the appearance of outdated or defunct agencies issuing takedowns or denials, a strange correlation between suppressed areas and satellite anomalies. In 2016, amateur analysts discovered that entire blocks of Antarctic imagery, particularly near the Shackleton Range and Dome Charlie, were being replaced with low-resolution composites. Several posted zoomed-in images showing what appeared to be a triangular structure, partially uncovered. Rough dimensions, 400 feet wide, clear lines, angular surfaces, a surrounding depression. Posts were rapidly taken down. One image circulated for less than 6 hours before being replaced by a terrain rendering error. Google's official statement? Certain polar image tiles are not prioritized due to low interest. But internally, emails show a different conversation. Object detected in Shackleton tile 4C-12, suppress at server level. Notify NGA. The NGA, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, is responsible for military mapping and global reconnaissance. Why would they be notified about an image from an open-source map? Antarctica is not empty. It is a continent layered in secrecy. Not just the frozen kind, but the bureaucratic, geopolitical kind. The kind where documents vanish, satellite imagery is blurred, and entire regions fall off the map, without explanation. This isn't just about cold, it's about control, and some of the most intense secrecy surrounds a region called Wilkes Land. In 2006, NASA and ESA satellite scans picked up something extraordinary beneath the ice sheet of Wilkes Land, a gravitational anomaly. It spans roughly 300 miles wide and shows signs of mass distribution inconsistent with surrounding terrain. Initially, scientists speculated it was a buried asteroid impact crater, possibly even the one that ended the age of the dinosaurs. But alternative theories emerged quickly. Why? Because the density readings didn't match known meteor compositions. According to internal logs leaked from a NASA contractor in 2011, the anomaly didn't behave like a crater at all. It had edges, angles, sharp density shifts. You expect scattered debris in a strike zone, the contractor reportedly said. But this returned like a solid, more like a constructed mass than an impact remnant. If it wasn't a crater, then what was it? Officially, the anomaly remains unexplored. Unofficially, several research teams were scheduled to survey the site. All were quietly diverted, permits were suspended, and in 2012 a Chinese expedition slated to deploy deep ice sonar in Wilkes Land was cancelled without reason. It's not the only anomaly. Just 800 kilometers away, near the Shackleton Range, a pattern of satellite interference began appearing in 2015. Civilian analysts noticed that certain image tiles were repeatedly replaced with grayscale masks, despite neighboring tiles being high resolution. Then came the images. For a brief 48-hour window in March 2016, several users posted what appeared to be a triangular object emerging from the ice, surrounded by deep indentations, a ridge of melt, and a distinct shadow. Dimensions: over 400 feet across, angular, metallic, shadowed. Google called it a terrain error, but one user, Glacio Tracker, claimed to have cross-referenced the shadow with solar angle data. The object's dimensions matched the sun's position at the time, he wrote, which means the shadow is real. His post vanished within hours. His account was banned. His web domain was suspended. Several reposts were removed by request from a government server labeled simply as DoD Aero. This wasn't the first time something angular appeared beneath Antarctica. During Operation Deep Freeze in the 1960s, US Navy crews conducted thousands of aerial photo passes over uncharted ice fields. Most of those photos were never released. But in 1994, a former military contractor revealed the existence of a triangular ridge photographed near the Pensacola Mountains, a location now partially closed to air traffic. It wasn't a mountain, he said. It was too symmetrical. We assumed it was a trick of light, until they pulled the film. That film? Never declassified. And the Pensacola Range remains one of the least documented highland regions in East Antarctica. Even more compelling are the seismic surveys. In 2018, a joint American-European team conducted deep ice-penetrating radar studies in Ellsworth Land. While scanning for bedrock features, their instruments returned a series of hollow returns, echoes bouncing off what appeared to be chambers. Not caves, not faults, flat walls, measurable dimensions, geometric symmetry. One of the researchers, speaking anonymously to a foreign science journal, claimed, "It looked like we found architecture, the kind you don't expect in the middle of glacial nothing." The team's research logs were submitted to a private review board and, according to internal communications, flagged as sensitive under ATS disclosure. That's the Antarctic Treaty system. And when a scientific result becomes sensitive under a treaty about peace and penguins, something's not right. That brings us to Dome A, the highest ice dome on the continent and possibly its most mysterious. Located inland on the East Antarctic Plateau, Dome A is a desert of cold. Almost nothing lives there. Temperatures can drop below -90 degrees Celsius. The air is dry, still, and ancient, which is why it shocked observers when radio interference was first detected in the area. In 2004, a Chinese survey team at the nearby Kunlun station reported bursts of high-frequency signals, non-random, repeating, and oddly localized. The signals didn't match natural phenomena. They weren't aurora-generated. They weren't seismic. They weren't atmospheric. A section of the report mentioned patterned modulation, as if something under the ice was pulsing with intelligence. That part of the report never appeared in the English translation, but afterward, something changed. The Chinese government poured millions into expanding Kunlun Station's deep ice scanning capacity, and to this day, no updated results have been released. So what do we make of this? We have triangular structures seen briefly before censorship, gravitational anomalies unlike any known formation, seismic echoes returning from hollow geometric shapes, radio pulses where there should be silence, zones restricted under the guise of environmental concern, and governments spending millions to look deeper while telling the world nothing is there. Either we're all imagining the same illusion, or something beneath the ice is triggering a level of international secrecy that has never been explained. And what's even stranger, these anomalies appear to be clustered together. Ridge 14, D59, Dome Charlie, Wilkes Land, Shackleton Range, Dome A. On a blank map, they seem random, but overlay the zones with 20 years of restricted airspace data, and a pattern begins to form. A loose arc, a buried network, or perhaps the perimeter of something larger. A final question remains: why Antarctica? Why are these secrets being buried here, at the bottom of the world? Some speculate it's because the continent is remote, hard to reach, easy to monitor. Others believe it's because Antarctica is the oldest untouched region on Earth and may contain relics from a time before history. A few go further, suggesting Antarctica isn't just the last continent to be explored, it may have been the first to be hidden. What could justify the sealing off of entire sectors? Why scrub satellite data? Why redact scientific findings? Why risk international exposure to hide a structure, or signal, or ruin? Unless what lies beneath the ice is something that could change everything. Not just science, not just history, but our understanding of civilization itself. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore even deeper mysteries. The rumors of Nazi bases and the secrets of Base 211, the controversial expedition known as Operation Highjump, the strange phenomenon of explorers reporting unseen presences, and the chilling theory that Antarctica may house something not of this world.